Hey guys, fellow skeptics, Lester the Skeptic Tank here once again. Just to follow up on my recent video, maybe this will be dropped later tonight or sometime tomorrow. I am just wanting to further discuss what I'm thankful for. Now, I've mentioned what I've mentioned, but I failed to mention the company I've been working for on and off for 5 years. On and off because there were two layoffs having happened, which were peaceable, nothing animus, and they've always kept me in mind. And I do want to give a shout out to my employer, Out of the Box Technology. Been through a lot of thick and thin, and I'm very much appreciative for the situation I find myself in over the last two. I'm on my second year in the project for the company and for Out of the Box. And the one thing I've noticed, especially when we merged. We were previously EBS associates prior to April of 2019. It was a different culture. There were many things I appreciated about that. I liked the regimen of going to the office, getting ready to go to the office. That does require a little discipline. Uh, However, things happened. Of course, you've got the whole Rona having happened late 2020 and all the things happening since then. And it was a time for the company to kind of I don't know if it was a matter of rethinking strategically, but I knew there was a lot going on that they had to deal with. Mainly the going to the office and then having a percentage of the workforce being remote. And that was a tough line to navigate. If I remember the discussions, the mentions during our local team meetings, and then everything that went down with my layoff, and then when they picked me back up. The the first layoff was kind of like as if nothing happened. Pretty much was only laid off for about a good week, and then they called me back. Hey, we got another opportunity, which I'm thankful for. Spent a year and change, almost 2 years. Don't know quite two, maybe. Yeah, you can. No, not quite. Not quite two. Maybe a month shy. 2 years. I was in marketing, so I learned things I didn't think I would learn. So thankful for that opportunity. But it's the 1 in 20 that, based on the prior discussion, wasn't sure. I was just going to do my thing, take advantage of whatever free time or opportunities for free time. Took advantage of that because, as I think I joked in other videos, when you pick up work, that free time goes away. You're not going to get it back. So I took advantage of those, and that kind of is how I got into more YouTube than I normally do. But as the months went by, as the company tried to find a home for me, I did go into other departments. I did spend some time. When they called me back, I was doing another project that involved data migration, conversion, type duties. I do that today, but when that project ended, I moved on to another department or another project, another team, I was willing to learn the ropes, wanted to learn the ropes. And, you know, sometimes, as with a lot of venues or places people of employment people find themselves in, sometimes the situation isn't a match. And yet, I think in their providence, I'm talking about out of the boxes, they decided, hey, uh, there's another opportunity for you. So I bounced to another part of the company. And that's all good and well. And you learn the different inner workings. And so I'm very much appreciative that they see something in me. And I don't know if I don't know how rare that is, to be honest. I know it doesn't seem commonplace for the many that I've talked to and see what's going on with their employment, especially around certain friends. Some of them are actually closer to retirement age, and the most unfortunate thing happens. Cord is cut, sometimes abruptly. And I've seen this in different walks in various places of employment throughout my official 18 years of working. And one of the things that they started developing, especially as 2021 or maybe 2022 came to a close. I'm trying to remember when we transitioned, but we made the decision to be wholly remote. So that's cool. Not so much of an adjustment there was, because it's very easy to see, like, okay, I work from home. Cool. Don't have to worry about commuting. I don't have to. And I think even as I started getting used to it again, the idea implanted in me when I came back the second time was get your 40 in or get your 8 a day in, just as long as you meet your appointments. Okay. It's very easy, especially when life happens and you want to have that work life balance, which is good depending on the kind of work you do or the kind of industry you're in. And that's something that I started to understand as we grew. The expectations kind of change. I don't mind having a set schedule. It kind of makes my scheduling a little bit more predictable, knowing where I can slide things in where I can't. So that's all good and well. But one of the things I started noticing as we grew is we were given quarterly gifts. Not many companies I'm aware of do that. Do that. I'm not aware of many companies doing that, but that is a make good that many companies don't have to do. I mean, for what it's worth, it's very it's I will say plainly, it's an expense. And we're talking about a company that had grown from, say, if I remember how many of us were in the building at the time, 12, maybe 15. Now you grow to about maybe 60, 70 employees, and you're offering a free quarterly gift. And I guess the greater subject that I want to bring up is we do a lot. I'm talking about us worker bees. We do a lot to, whether we're going to another area of employment or we're trying to prove ourselves in our existing one. We're always trying to sell ourselves. And that's important. Update that resume, try to articulate new things you learned, new skills, experiences to reflect on. But we lose sight of the other side of that, which is a company or a business is looking at drawing workers. That's all good and well. Drawing workers in, very much important. And then the other half of that is retaining them. One term I learned from when I had done stuff at a call center with respect to the mobile phone industry, particularly the subject of churn. And just checking my time. Again, go to church a little later, and then just a spoiler alert: I am aiming to see Godzilla -1 later tonight. I'll say more on that maybe later in another video. But let me get something out of the way real quick. So going back to the quarterly gift. Now, this is my most recent one. It's an upside down umbrella. Now, being in Oregon and especially talking with the locals about this idea of using an umbrella, it was very poo pooed on. If you want to be a local, you get a good rain jacket. So I followed suit on that. But yeah, I'll find a time and a place for this. But I have I have many quarterly gifts come my way that I found useful. There were some incentive laden, or I don't know, incentive laden being the word, but we had many items that were very specific. One being my jacket. I don't know if I've had any videos of me with my jacket on. Nice lightweight jacket. Didn't have to do it. Didn't have to do it, but they did. Okay. Um, and so there are many things and many considerations an employer or a business has to think about, especially when it comes to employee retention. I know the number one thing people will talk about is probably being paid more. Of course, we all want to be paid more. Yeah, of course we do. That's all good and well, but I think for me, what I'm very grateful for is being in a place that I can really feel rooted in. I'm learning. And even though the type of work I do is fairly repetitive, there there's still enough out there in terms of monkey wrenches and things where I have to puzzle solve. I appreciate that. And this is going to go back to something that I learned just this morning or past couple of weeks in hanging out via Zoom with Sister Vasa. She does have a YouTube, Coffee with Sister Vasa. I believe it. I'll drop the handle if you want it. But the idea of right being, and I'm only saying this in regards to what I might have encountered last night and what I've encountered in the project I'm involved with for as long as I have. And I think I touched up on those moments to some degree in my last video. But this ebb and flow of slowness and busyness, it's really interesting. Like talking with one of the former, I don't know if he's former, but he was a FedEx driver at the .com job I was at. And it was joke with each other about how our day's been. I think it was espacio or rapido. So how's the day going for you? Rapido would be desired, but because we have, uh, when things need to pick up the pace because we have so much of a workload to deal with and work through. And one of the things that I learned from her is this, and I think that's something that a lot of Christians are losing sight of, I don't know what the percentage is, but I've I've gotten encounters with various Christians about looking at the way things are. No, this is not going to be a culture blah 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 video. Don't think so. But I'm only going to speak to what I noticed in a work conversation. Now, the problem with text communication is you can't exactly convey intent, emotion. I mean, you can use emoticons, and sometimes it gets across, sometimes it does not. I can see where my friend was kind of half joking. Tell so and so to go home because we're getting more work. But then there are times when we are super slow and it's like, oh, someone's asleep at the desk or whatever. Something's not, doesn't seem right. And it kind of goes back to my point about having free time during my unemployment period. So it's funny just thinking about it in this very moment about chronic this and chronic that. Particularly when I was reading the Primal Blueprint, talking about chronic this and chronic that. Chronic cardio is a term. Yes, it's chronic cardio from the Primal Blueprint. And I suppose I'll throw a link into the book. I have that on physical, but I've had that on digital for a while, which I believe I've also spoken about. I think it was part of a previous unboxing. But the idea of being thankful for even the slowest times. We talk about work-life balance. It's like be thankful for the times things aren't so busy. You can take a breather. You can actually catch a tune or two, maybe a YouTube video or even a movie as you're doing your work. For those, especially the remote worker types like myself. Again, it goes back to the nature of your job and the industry you're in. If that can be fit within a given workday. Not every industry, not every job type is conducive to just mindlessly either listening to a movie, listening to a YouTube video, or even watching it. You that's one of the ups of having multiple displays, I suppose. Or if you manage the windows correctly and the video viewing size, you can work with it. But it's like as much as it sucked knowing that I did have an opportunity to end my day early, I just knew I had to get some things done because we've been busy the last couple of weeks. And for that, I'm thankful. I mean, like I mentioned, I think I mentioned in my most recent video that I have the higher opportunity of getting a bonus. It's like, yeah, because nothing. It's nothing against the partner. If the people don't want to get their data converted to another platform, they don't want to get their data converted, and that's all good and well. I get it, but things were slow and things were a bit trying. You know, missed out. You know, I don't have anyone to blame for that. I just understood the reality that yeah, people have a vote. Customers have a vote. I'm a customer. Going back to my thankfulness, I just looked into my Amazon order about my external drive. And they're like, we'll send you a replacement. Really? And if I heard her right, she said I didn't have to return the other product. Really? I want to double check that to be 100% sure I don't need to return it. I have to make sure. I'll double check. Anyway, it was like, yeah, we'll send another one. We'll send a replacement. Oh, okay. Thank you. One of the peachiest news, and my apartment management don't know what to think of them. It's like change, especially when it comes to your housing, especially for those who rent like me. Don't know what's going to happen with new management. So far, so good. Even though I got a rent increase, but it's not that bad, and so I'm thankful. And it just means like, okay, anything that could happen. I think for me, it's been okay. I know it sucks. Whatever negativity you might be exposed to or encounter, well, it sucks. Yeah, it's very easy. It's not like you're not allowed to feel that way. But the mentality should be, yes, you have to feel something. Or you get it's like if you don't respond in a certain way to certain events, maybe something is wrong with you. I don't know. Depends on the situation, of course. But I'm very much thinking about like, okay, a lot of what I've encountered is this thing will pass at some point. Maybe there's something more. I just can't be attached to either my emotions or whatever might come. It's like what Elon Musk said yesterday or whenever he had that interview, let the chips fall where they may. Not that you're aloof, not that you're detached. It's just you've got to understand that what will happen, and it's just a matter of how you respond to it, whether you're attached to that happenstance to the point where you can't move forward. So I think I've said enough on that. I know this was a follow up, and I wanted to at least highlight one of the unboxings, or I've got a couple of things. The one thing I appreciate about Netter's Network and the last call, they're a husband and wife combo, and she doesn't have to say it, but she does, saying not just our friends, but we're family. Now, that doesn't mean we're all lovey dovey, but the tightness is more than just acquaintances. And especially when she said it's all good and well that we can talk amongst ourselves. She has her husband and another person typically in the chat room or on the panel, and that's yeah true. We can all talk on a panel. So speaking of which, this I got two packages. I got one a while ago, which I have yet to open. I don't know when this one came in because I don't check my mail every day. Although it's funny that my complex says we'd like for you to check your mail every day. Yeah, but given the weather. Oh, the other thing I'm thankful for is just I know a lot of people, especially people who've moved to Oregon, who go, "Man, Oregon's great. I just don't like the weather." I'm thankful for the weather. It's part of the price you pay for meeting people. I guess every place has its price to pay. People ask me like, "Oh, why did you leave San Diego? Perfect weather." Well, live there for more than a decade, maybe 2 decades. It's not perfect weather. I mean, same thing with LA. By golly, I think I remember in the spring of '06, it was just a torrential. It was like downpour almost daily. So I don't know what these people were doing. It's like you only visit Southern California every so often. You don't live there. It's like, and depending on the area of San Diego, sure. Come on, I know how to do this. Uh-huh. She did a good job of packing. Oh, don't want to get that information exposed. She does a lot better than many other people who pack stuff. All right, I'm gonna go cheater way. I I don't need to get the entire box. Checking time. Not bad. This one. This is the most recent one. The holiday special. I know, it's the Star Wars holiday special. Didn't have so much fanfare, but the animated scenes were pretty cool. And I know there have been some fan edits based on what I watched with uh, Troy's channel, The Last Call, and kind of glad I was exposed to that because based on the banter I heard, the things that I was seeing there they didn't have in the original. In the original, I suppose. Anyway, again doing cheater way, going from the top. Okay. I watched this on Netter's Network. They do these weekly, or I don't know about weekly, but they do these showings on Saturday nights, and it's a nice way for us to banter. And I know there are other ways to do it. I'm gonna figure that out because I know I went on another VTuber, I think Lorena Creel, where she allowed us to watch a Snorka together. I hope that kind of gives way to what I thought about the series. That's all I'll say. But this is probably the third religious, I don't know, you call it horror or suspense. Let's see. Saw The Exorcist. The one I forgot the subtitle to it. It might have been Exorcist the beginning. This was back in '04. The Omen. When my birthday fell on, well, when the movie was released on my birthday in '06. Just the number sequence. You kind of get an idea of when I was born. um, and then now this. I joked during the stream. I said, I'm going to be saying my prayers tonight. So there's that. And I don't know if I'm going to. I suppose I should because I got about an hour to head out. Let me get the other box. Uh, all right, guys. You're going to see it here first. Let me get my keyboard and mouse out of the way. This is what I'm going to give my parish. Now, I don't know how disappointed to feel because oh, okay. See, this is not what I expected. I was hoping to get a bag, but okay. Oh, I did get a bag, but I just got the extra stuff. So it's not quite the bag I got for myself. I got what's called this was from My Medic. So I ordered extra things. So here, and I upgraded to what is called the Pro Edition because it included other stuff. Okay, Hiker Med Pack. I guess that was part of the bonus. And yeah, so okay, this is cool. So this is the what I am going to give to my parish, just in case if people want I'm going to talk to my parish priest about staging this. That was the one thing I still have to get better at because I do have a little mini makeshift kit with what I got from Tactical Response. Because I have what I believe what was instructed as necessary. Gloves, got to figure how to stage them, and especially getting used to the notion of what I want on my person. Because I have had situations where I've neglected. That's why I try to keep my bag nearby, but sometimes I forget. We all forget, just particularly where we put things last. um, Here we go. We got one more item or two. All right. So this was a Value Village find. So I'm gonna have a little fun with this. For those who want to provide a comment, feel free. I'm just gonna leave this out there. We'll see how I react. And this one was a pre-order from Jada. I don't know about their other lines, to be honest, because I do have other lines they have, but the one getting most notoriety thanks to guys like 3POA. I think it was 3POA, and then you've got Articulated Ninja, and I think other people. Forget if it's Chad. Also, said some good things about it. Like it, he might have. He's a channel I just recently came in. I just noticed. I think it was something with um, either retroblasting or 3PO. My timelines are getting a little wonky. Thank you, work. Really, I thank you because that means I'm busy, which means we're making the company money. Okay, so let's see. Again, doing the cheater mode because don't know what to expect. I think I've seen this stuff on online, so yes, it is what it is. It's evil Ryu, and got to think again. Ooh, nice and shrink wrap. It's not like the other packaging I got for the Jada stuff I already have. It's kind of packed in a nice little box with arcade, the arcade machine, kind of part of the motif, which is cool. So let's see. How do I want to open this without messing it up? I think I got something. Okay. I just need a little bit of puncture. Good. Plastic is coming off all right. Yeah, I forget if I have this Ultra Street Fighter 2. Think I think I have that for the Switch. Which I honestly have to get back to playing. I think especially nowadays, if you haven't seen the announcement, I know it's for a different product, but the idea still applies that those owning and distributing the content for any digital service, they can take it down. It doesn't matter if we're talking about a game, a movie, or a TV show. That's why, like Fanzine and Troy, anybody, Midnight's Edge, mainly Tom Connors, he's the one who, and then deleted scenes, they all say, and retroblasting, too many to mention, own physical media. And I think I've spoken my piece in regards to if you are in that jam, you can There's a way to make digital content tangible and an asset for you as either a company or for as yourself personally, but it has to come in the form of physical media. I know we talk about discs, but I also talked about books, magazines, comic books, cassette tapes, CDs. But I think flash drives, external solid state drives, things that are tangible and what makes it valuable, like, oh yeah, sure, you pay a price for a flash drive, you pay a price for an external drive, sure. But what ups the price, one would think, is what's stored in there. So if it's something that's easily transferable from one owner to another, where you're not behind some kind of walled garden, so to speak, oh yeah, it helps to kind of, yeah, I know I'm going to open this figure and I know Monkey Boy gets a little, am I orienting this right? Yeah. I know he gets a little apoplectic when he sees people opening packaging, but my thing is figures are to be displayed and maybe not. It's not a toy. I know a lot of these products I've gotten so far that make a mention. It's not a toy, guys. Understand that. You want to pose these. The one thing I appreciate about Jada is no frills. If if you're into more like attachments, that's cool. You do you. I'm glad that it's there, but the last couple of iterations, yeah. See, they've got two hands, two different heads, and what look to be two fireballs. I'll check it out when I actually open it. But you know, I can tell just from they pretty much use the same one for the standard Rio, and I'm gonna look at those eyes. Yep, looks evil. Looks like so. Yeah, I'm excited. So, um, the other thing. Let's see if I have that here. There goes my stuff. All right, I got this maybe a couple weeks ago, a few weeks ago. I did take my share of classes in linguistics, and one of the things we covered was Indo-European material, history of English. That's fascinating. And so maybe I can make a series out of this. Hopefully, I don't put you guys asleep. But I'm going to go with the opening pages. Indo-European and the Indo-Europeans. Indo-European is the name given for geographic reasons to the large and well-defined linguistic family that includes most of the languages of Europe, past and present, as well as those found in a vast area extending across Iran and Afghanistan to the northern half of the Indian subcontinent. In modern times, the family has spread by colonization throughout the Western Hemisphere. Curious byproduct of the age of colonialism and mercantilism, as was the introduction of Sanskrit in the 18th century to European intellectuals and scholars long familiar with Latin and Greek, and with the European languages of culture, Romance, Germanic, and Slavic. The comparison of the classical language of India with the two classical languages of Europe revolutionized the perception of linguistic relationships. Speaking to the Asia, Asiatic Society in Calcutta on February 2nd, 1786, the English Orientalist and jurist Sir William Jones uttered his now famous pronouncement. And this is something I shared with a friend of mine. The Sanskrit language, whatever be its antiquity, is of a wonderful structure more perfect than the Greek, more copious than the Latin, and more exquisitely refined than either, yet beating to both of them a stronger affinity, both in the roots of verbs and in the forms of grammar, than could possibly have been produced by accident, so strong, indeed, that no philologer could examine them all three, without believing them to have sprung from some common source which perhaps no longer exists. Jones was content with the assertion of a common original language without exploring the details. Others took up the cause, but it remained for the German philologist, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, Franz Bopp, to found the new science of comparative grammar. With the publication of in 1816 of his work on the conjugational system of the Sanskrit language in comparison with that of the Greek, Latin, Persian, and Germanic languages. He was 25 years old when it appeared. And so the beginning part will lay a lot of the background. So there's a lot of these pages with not page numbers, but page numbers noted in Roman numerals. Even telling about a guide to the dictionary. So, yeah. All right, fellow skeptics. Well, I'm not terribly pressed for time, but I want to spend a little bit of time to relax a little, take care of some last minute chores and so forth. And thank you again for your time. Thanks for the immediate upshot and views for the recent Thanksgiving video, along with other things. And as always, just leave a comment. If you like what you see, hit that thumbs up. And again, if you want to be notified of anything I might bring, just click on the subscribe button, but more importantly, click on the bell and make sure you specify all, because personalization is when you're tagged. And maybe if I understand how the bell system works, if you hit none, you might just get something that's dropped along your YouTube page about either you might get a notification that something new has been published, but you will not get that through your phone or on a web page within YouTube. You might not get that bell, but it might show up in your display of videos you might want to watch. So, however you want to do it, great. I always appreciate comments. This brings up certain questions you might have, or just feedback you want to give me. As always, and again, I'm figuring if I want to do a live stream at some point, but again, drop a comment to let me know. All right, guys, peace out, and I'll check you all on the other side.